drive for TriMet.
You're a TriMet bus driver or a train driver. So tell me what you called in and said TriMet is lying about its shortage of drivers, which is so severe that even though demand has gone down, they've actually reduced the amount of service that they're providing. And they say, we just can't find good drivers. What's the real truth of that?
Well, they claim that it's between 45 and 60. The real number is closer to 200 or 300.
What? 200 or 300 drivers short is how short they are?
Yes.
Okay, now how, for the people who are listening to this, they're going to wonder, well, how does a public transit agency funded by taxpayers and operating as a public agency subject to public records rules and all that, how do they get away with saying we're 40 or 50 drivers short if they're really 200 or 300 drivers short? Persuade them for me.
The thing is we're canceling runs every single day, and to tell them that, like, oh, well, you know, they didn't have a driver for it, so that they kind of write that one off.
Meaning, write it off how? They just say the run never existed?
They just say it's canceled.
It's canceled. But they're far shorter of drivers. How could members of the public or somebody like me prove that? So that we could say, you're not telling the public the truth about how severe your driver shortage is.
I would guess that a public records request would do it.
And do you think that they might try to... Go ahead. Sorry.
You know, how many drivers they had in, like, 2017 versus how many they have now?
And why are they lying about this instead of just saying to the public, we're hundreds of drivers short, and that's why we can't provide service?
I wish I knew.
Okay.
I really wish I did, Lars.
Are they working a lot of drivers overtime now?
We have a lot of drivers who are going and working a lot of overtime. I'm pulling 50 to 60-hour weeks on average.
Now, let me ask you this. I'm sure that for the drivers, pulling time and a half overtime is not the worst thing in the world because it means a bigger paycheck. But at some point, you burn drivers out, I would guess. And at some point, the drivers, well, if as commercial drivers, are you limited in the number of hours you can drive like truck drivers are?
Yeah, we're limited to 70 hours a week.
70 hours. Now, that's a long week.
Yes, it is.
Is that safe?
I will not push myself to that limit. That's not within my wheelhouse to go ahead and do that. I know some drivers that can do that, but I will not do that to myself because it's not safe for me.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. But are there other drivers who might be tempted to say, hey, they're asking me to work the hours pay real good at time and a half, I'm going to go ahead and do that. In other words, is TriMet ignoring the safety side of this?
I don't think they are, honestly, because we do have measures in place to go ahead and say, like, I've driven enough, I need to stop. And TriMet has to listen to us.
Okay, let me ask you another question just since you called into the show today. My understanding is they offer fairly good pay. It's not the starting wage, but the average driver, I think, makes about $68,000 a year, plus a very nice benefits package on top of that. With all that available, why is it they're not able to attract drivers? Do you know?
Yeah, it's because people don't want to work, and you can't smoke weed and do this job.
Well, that's a problem, isn't it? Especially in a place like the Northwest. I mean, I hate to laugh about that, but you have a CDL, commercial driver's license?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And if you get caught with any amount of weed in your system, your CDL goes away, right?
Yes, and I also have more stringent DUI. I'm allowed half the legal limit that other people are.
And that's even in your own car. If you were stopped in your own car and you blew a .05, that would wipe out your CDL, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Is there also a concern when people look at the job saying, I don't want to go into a job where I might get attacked by my customers?
There's a lot of that.
Tell me about it.
And we've had well over 200 results this year.
Meaning what? 200 results is what?
200 assaults.
Assaults. 200 assaults this year?
Yes.
Wow. So you're seeing 4 or 5 assaults a week on TriMet.
On average.
A day.
Wow. Dale, will you hold on a second? I want to get your contact information. Dusty, can you grab the contact information from Dale? It is First Amendment Friday. We're live on the Radio North.